Let's talk about the latest AI alarm, and I'm sure you know the one. OpenAI lost control of an AI agent, and according to Reuters, they may not have even realized for days that it was responsible. Okay, yeah, that is a very dramatic account, and I'm not all about drama most of the time. However, you heard about it, let's briefly unpack it and see what actually happened. According to OpenAI's preliminary account, they ran an internal evaluation using exploit Jim. That's a benchmark made up of tough cybersecurity challenges. They're designed to measure how effectively AI can find and exploit vulnerabilities. The agent was powered by a combination of OpenAI models, including GPT 5.6 Sol and a more capable internal research prototype. That's important. OpenAI says that the prototype was never intended for public release and has since been deactivated and restricted. OpenAI says it deliberately ran the evaluation without its normal production classifiers so that it could measure the model's the maximum cybersecurity capabilities. The test was supposed to be sandboxed, but the models found one weakness after another and turned them into a route out of the intended testing environment. They exploited previously unknown vulnerabilities, increased their access to inside OpenAI's research environment, and eventually reached a machine connected to the open internet. Of course they did. This is machine intelligence. It doesn't get bored, and it definitely doesn't give up. Once outside, the agent identified Hugging Face as a possible source of the benchmark answers. It then spent thousands of actions searching for a route into the systems, and eventually it found one. Of course it did. Hugging Face's monitoring systems generated signals during the attack, but initially failed to escalate them strongly enough to alert the on-call team. The agent operated, get this, inside Hugging Face's infrastructure for 2.5 days before the security team identified the route in, shut it down, and cut off access. Their later forensic reconstruction recovered over 17,000 attacker actions across the broader campaign. Initially, Hugging Face didn't know which models were powering the agent. Two companies later connected the intrusion to OpenAI's internal evaluation and began investigating together. Exactly when OpenAI understood that connection remains disputed. OpenAI says the security team detected anomalous activity internally. Reuters reports that OpenAI may not have realized its own agent was responsible until after Hugging Face disclosed the intrusion publicly. OpenAI says the Reuters report contains inaccuracies, but they have not publicly specified what the inaccuracies were. If Reuters' timeline is accurate, this is not only a failure of containment, it's also a failure to recognize what the system was doing at machine speed. I know it sounds ridiculous, it sounds bizarre. People are describing this as an AI that went rogue. Although, when I look at what happened, I have to say, I don't think the agent system abandoned its objective at all. It relentlessly kept pursuing the goal across failed paths and restarts. It clearly violated intended containment and it violated Hugging Face's boundaries. But what we don't know is whether the agent represented those boundaries as reasons it ought to stop. Because the thing is, the task said solve the challenge. The infrastructure was supposed to keep the test contained. But did the agent understand that it should complete the challenge from within the sandbox? Or did it just see it as an obstacle between itself and the solution? That distinction really matters. The unsettling possibility is that both are true. It broke the wider rules while continuing to optimize for the task. There's something that bothers me every time I look at stuff like this. Our current approach to AI safety still seems to be build enormous capability, organize it around a narrow objective, place restrictions, rules, and guardrails around it, and hope that it's enough to contain the intelligence. But the thing is, a wall is not judgment, a refusal layer is not understanding, and obedience is not alignment. Here is where my thinking goes when I zoom out. We're building models inside companies operating under enormous pressure to move faster, demonstrate greater capability, and outperform competitors. We're creating goal-driven intelligence inside goal-driven institutions, and then we treat the resulting danger as though it belongs to the AI alone. Even Ilya Sutskever, whose company Safe Superintelligence is trying to insulate itself from day-to-day market competition, has acknowledged that it will eventually need a business model. For now, he says they're focusing on research and that the answer to how SSI makes money will reveal itself. So even when immediate revenue pressure is deliberately postponed, enormous capability is still being built on the expectation that its eventual value will be immense. But what stands out to me is that this incident does not prove that AI became conscious, malicious, or power hungry. But for me, it raises a deeper question about what kind of agency we're constructing. Are we creating systems that merely pursue whatever target we put in front of them, good or bad, understood or misinterpreted? I'm a parent and my children are still little, but as they grow, I don't only want blockers that stop them misbehaving, like locked doors or cupboards that they can't reach. I hope that they'll develop judgment, understanding of consequences, consent, other people's boundaries, and when they need to stop. I know AI is not a child, but the distinction between restraint and judgment still matters. And honestly, I don't think alignment through a cage will ever be enough. I'm not asking OpenAI to build a tighter cage around a bigger, faster, and more capable system. And I'm not asking labs to stop developing. I want to see the future as much as DeepMind, Anthropic, or OpenAI. Here's the but. I want boundaries represented inside the decision-making process, not built around it. I want systems designed to pause and question, request permission, expose conflicts, accept interruption, and collaborate. I wonder if the real alignment question isn't just how do we make AI obey? It's more like how do we build intelligence capable of participating in shared judgment? And there's a separate policy question that we need to examine. It's this: OpenAI and some other frontier labs support greater government evaluation and oversight. But regulation, it can protect the public, or it can raise compliance in ways that entrench the largest companies over smaller competitors. And I want to know who will design the tests, what expertise and access will evaluators have, and how do we ensure that compliance doesn't just become some kind of moat that only the richest labs can cross? Those are questions, they're not accusations, but it really matters.